Hello and welcome to the 7th episode of the Comic Book Network. I'm your host, Ian.
And I'm the co-host, Ethan.
And today we're talking about secret identities. Speaking of, your name isn't really Ethan, is it?
It is.
Okay, a little bit of a rough start there, but so my secret identity is actually, I don't have one either. I was really hoping that you'd have one, and that would kind of fill the void in my life that I was missing. So.
I was kind of banking on you, actually.
Wow, we totally should have planned this. I'm actually Jonathan Oliver. Can you believe it?
No.
Yeah, that accent wasn't as convincing as I had hoped.
It was stellar, but I can see you.
Oh, that's a problem too. So, what makes a good secret identity? Physically, mentally, socially? All three different Lees that we should discuss. No, that would be a terrible secret identity. He's like the least secret person out there.
Secretly.
That's perfect.
Quietly.
Especially.
Pleasantly. Just be quietly.
No way.
Lee. I love adverbs.
Alright. So, in terms of physical secret identities, what do you think are the requirements if you want to keep it, locked and safe?
Well, there's two standards we need to think about when it comes to secret identities. We need to think about
glasses and reporters.
I was just about to get to that, actually. We need to think about Thanos primarily.
Okay.
But other things we need to think about.
Well, I'm constantly thinking about him, so.
Thomas from the freaking block. Other things we need to think about is the comic book aspect.
Right.
And the real life aspect. Now, these two, though usually comic books are written like they could be in real life. Spiders bite you, you're magical.
Right, exactly.
They're all written very literally.
Absolutely.
Like it could, based off true events.
Mm-hmm.
But we need to think, like, maybe in a comic book, glasses will work.
Right.
And actually he parts his hair another way, so.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. And
that must be part of his superhero powers.
And he does slouch, so it's pretty much game, set, match right there. Yeah, I definitely think there needs to be some sort of physical change if you don't have a full costume. And often that change is very much written off as sort of, yeah, people just don't recognize him, which is kind of a lazy way of doing things. Like,
it is.
You'd think at least the voice, they'd have a couple questions, I think Invincible from Image really summed up and captured the troubles of secret identities really well with their high schooler who's become this superhero, and immediately after he's left mysteriously during a supervillain incident, his friends immediately realize that it's him. They just confront him about it. I think that's probably likely in most situations.
See, the physical aspect, is very important. It's growing more and more rare. We have masks on Batman, Spider-Man, Green Arrow, The Flash. Everyone has a mask.
Mm-hmm.
So with these masks, they do a lot to help change the voice, but I also like the Green Arrow's idea of using a thing that actually would filter his voice.
Right.
So that's always a good idea.
But you can't filter a goatee, can you? Especially not one of that caliber. It's very difficult. I think a lot of times, like I said, that aspect is written off, but it really can detract from the experience when it's so clearly obvious who the secret identity is. Like, with Martian Manhunter, I forget exactly what he went by, but his secret identity was entirely different. And I know that can't happen for everyone because they don't shapeshift. But that was the only secret identity that's felt real to me in most senses, that it could actually pass off.
Right. And a lot of villains, too, they don't have secret identities. Like the Joker is the Joker. He's always been the Joker, always will be the Joker.
Mm-hmm.
And the Penguin is just the Penguin, you know. And they
Right.
might have fronts, like fake businesses, but they are who they are.
I mean, it's hard to hold a secret identity when you're going to jail or super jail.
Yeah.
But, yeah, that's a good point. They don't have much to hide from. And what do you think about the old mantra that they have to keep their identity secret to protect those they love? Is that legitimate? Is that needed?
For villains, no, I don't think it is. Because superheroes not going to be like, hey, let's kill these innocents to get at this villain.
That would be a strange superhero story.
But for the superhero, I believe that it is typically necessary unless his relations with other people and he knows that they're powerful enough to take care of themselves.
But then again, their loved ones seem to get in trouble regardless. It's a staple of the comic world, I guess you'd say. And is there really ever a need to keep it that quiet? Like Peter Parker, when he went exposed during the Civil War, it was a major turning point, but it didn't do much. Like, I don't think it had a huge effect on his family, that sort of thing.
Yeah, that's true in some ways, but then in other ways, like you see from Iron Man, just like, hey guys, this is my house, and a lot of you have asked me for a tour, so right now I'm standing in my garage next to my Lambo, which is fun to drive around in the Hollywood Hills.
I wish I had a Lambo.
But you know what I love more than materialistic possessions?
What?
Knowledge.
Knowledge?
Knowledge. And so with Iron Man's whole aspect of that, you know...
Wait, hold up. I'm interested in this knowledge thing.
Buy my book.
Are you selling?
It's called Words and Phrases on Amazon for $39.99.
$39? That's the price of knowledge?
That is the price of knowledge.
You heard it here first, folks. Price of knowledge is $39.99 on Amazon.
Are we actually able to look up that book real quick? I want to see if someone snatched it up already.
Oh wow, it's 1,000 copies.
So
holy cow.
I don't need you anymore.
You're on a roll, pal. You've acquired some real knowledge here.
Others have acquired knowledge.
So, let me learn some knowledge about Iron Man.
So I think that Iron Man's way of, putting everything out there was not very smart. Because his place was attacked by, everyone,
Well, yeah.
And he had a decent security system, but you can't just put yourself out there like that.
And he did have secret identities over the years. Much like Peter Parker now, the Iron Man persona, like the Spider-Man persona, sort of acted as the bodyguard of Tony Stark or Peter Parker, respectively. And that worked out. But yeah, it definitely... I think either way, they're going for the family members, if only for sake of plot. So really, when it comes down to it, sometimes, because of writing, secret identities may not be as necessary.
Right, and that's the aspect I was talking about. In the comic book world, versus real life. Because in the comic book world, yeah, they're gonna get them. They can just write it in. But in real life, it would be far better to keep it a secret.
Are you considering building a superhero identity?
Not that I'm admitting to.
There is a costume in the closet, so I may have to go out on a limb here and say you're glowing.
No,
oh my word!
That's not.
It's pure yellow.
Guys, cover the mic.
You just exploded in muscle. Like, who are you?
I am Ethan. Actually, this is a rare skin disease.
Oh,
and
I'm so sorry.
It's
and
infectious.
the costume. Oh yeah, that's a hazmat suit. Yeah, I see it now. I mean, it probably should have been clear. You looked like a beekeeper in yellow. Wow, I am so sorry about that. That is okay. Moving on. What else about superhero identities? Any tips and tricks?
I'd like to hear your side, actually.
Well, I believe that there should be superhero identities, but only if done right. They can't be these billionaire businessmen and then expect not to be scrutinized for being a hero. Like, that would be the first place I'd look. Billionaires whose only opportunity for fun or independent fun is really going around at night dressed as a bat.
Or running in a presidential election and making fun of all the other candidates. As we see with Donald Trump.
Right. Otherwise known as the toupee.
The toupee.
He is fearsome and mighty and intimidating.
He doesn't even need a mask. He just kind of puts his hair over.
It's like a welding mask. It just comes down right over his face. That's incredible. I can't believe you picked up on that so quickly. I mean, looking back on it now, when I saw him in action, when I saw the hero first in action, I thought that mask looked suspiciously like hair. And he did call himself the toupee, so I suppose I should have put that together.
The toupee hero.
That's incredible.
I just made it up. Call me Cisco Ramon.
Okay, Cisco.
Thank you.
Congratulations. You've been promoted.
I'm richer than you.
For the first time.
Call me Richard.
For the first time in the Comic Book Network's history, we have not fired someone this episode and instead promoted someone to owner.
Does that make me your boss?
That does.
You're fired.
Dang it. I should have seen that coming, but somehow my eyes were clouded by a strange toupee.
All right, so that was great. Do you have any other thoughts on secret identities?
Not in particular, so let's move on to our reads of the week.
All right, I'll start. I read Batman Adventures or something. I don't know, really old comic book.
Great title.
1992, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
I read a couple of the first issues. It's pretty, for the time, it's pretty good. The art is not up to par anymore. Right. But looking at the time period, it was nice to read and kind of a throwback, you know.
What villains featured?
The Joker with his TVs and killing the people who turned on the lights. Oh. The Penguin who watched the Joker's TV and then stole from banks. Okay. And those are all the ones I came across that off the top of my head. But it was pretty interesting because the Penguin was running a, quote, legal business.
Oh, that's an interesting angle. Yeah, that's happened a couple times. Yeah. At least. And it's always interesting to see what he does with it because ultimately Batman's a detective and he gets to the bottom of things. Well, ultimately, he's a depressed furry. But just ultimately, he's a detective.
I see.
And that's what's important.
And ultimately, there is Thanos. He has 3 ultimates.
Oh my word. I think my mind just shattered into infinite pieces.
We never really thought about it, did we?
Never. I never really think at all.
Go sweep up your pieces since you're fired.
Yes, master.
Alright, and now he's going to give you a piece of his mind.
But a little piece, not a big one.
On his comics this week.
I started out reading Avengers Assault on Pleasant Hill. And I think I told you about this before, the Pleasant Hill arc, wherein there's a prison that acts as a town for criminals who have been...
The rehab, right?
Yeah, pretty much erased their memories and made them new people entirely. So it was interesting to learn more information about how exactly their minds were wiped and how they were controlled in that prison. And it was also interesting seeing what's going on both inside the prison, if you will, the town, and outside, as Bucky Barnes is questionably a enemy to Captain America. And we know that Bucky has been an enemy before, but in the most recent renditions, he's been portrayed as sort of a Nick Fury type character, protecting the cosmos. And he hasn't really been seen in that villain role for a while. So seeing what's transpiring here, and then with the knowledge that he's appearing in the Thunderbolts, which is a team of rehab supervillains, I'm excited to see what they do with that and with him.
So, judging off the title, Avengers Attack on Pleasant Hill, yes? Sounds like maybe the Avengers or something attacked Pleasant Hill.
Well,
now why would they have to do this?
Now, from what they've explained thus far, it doesn't seem to be an attack by the Avengers, but the Avengers are involved. We've only really seen hints of Avengers aside from Captain America, who features. We saw a hint of Hulk in a doctor or pediatrician, something in the town, who was said to get a little bit dangerous when he's angry and a little green.
So you think Hulk was sent into the rehab?
Some of the Avengers might be stationed, because they've explained that prison guards and SHIELD agents are also townsfolk, integrated as townsfolk. So I think that some of the Avengers might have been integrated as townsfolk just to keep a watch over them.
Now, well, that's very interesting. Do you think that Hulk maybe was brainwiped? Because we know that he's been an enemy in situations before.
It could be, but and I won't put it past him, but what I hope is that they do stick true to the Avengers side of the Hulk.
Right. It seems like the Hulk would be too strong for the medicines they tried to feed him.
The next, well, it's done using a process that's pretty much impenetrable, even for the Hulk. I won't explain what that is. It's kind of a thing that's revealed in the series, but yeah, it's exciting. The second book I was reading was the first on the road to Civil War II, which is Invincible Iron Man issue 7. And aside from some disturbing cover art, it was a great story as always. I really like the way they lay out the panels. I like the way the art is organized. Um, and even though they switched artists, the new artist has been doing a splendid job with Iron Man and that aspect. And we actually got to see Spidey this time, this issue.
So is this Civil War 2 in a different kind of manner than Civil War 1, or is it after?
Yeah, it's after, and it's in a different. It's caused by something else, and we've only received hints so far. But essentially, it centers around a being or a mutant, inhuman, some sort of powered being who has the power to predict when and where supervillains will strike.
That's a good power.
Right. But the tough decision as a result is whether to stop them during the act or preemptively get rid of them, eliminate them, make sure they're not in that situation. And that is what creates the two opposing sides, from what I understand. And I didn't see a lot of those themes being hinted at in this issue in particular. But I think they're setting a good foundation, bringing in MJ into Iron Man's office and work. And it's a good way to link Iron Man and Spider-Man more than they're linked already.
Yeah, and maybe we'll dive more into this later, but
right.
What are your thoughts on the Civil War side? Because for me, I think, yes, stop them in the act, unless it's going to be something that's devastating.
Right.
In which case, stop them before.
I'd have to contemplate it more because it's sort of a tough moral decision, but overall, I'd probably lean towards the stopping during, because there's no reason to detain them before unless there's possibility of certain catastrophe. And I know there will be more levels to this. S.H.I.E.L.D. will probably want to control this mutant or whomever and have sort of possession over it, and that could also be a very dangerous and manipulative sort of thing. And I'm excited to see where it goes. Alright, so if that's all for the reads of the week, we're going to move on to our letter of the week. And this letter comes from the internet.
We don't have a letter this week.
Right.
What we're going to do, once again, is we're going to pull from our comic book 30-day challenge or something. We're skipping around a bit, but...
However, if you do want to write in, be featured in this segment, this prestigious podcast, if I may.
You may.
Thank you.
I give you permission.
Thank you, boss.
As your superior.
All right. I am still sweeping up, and it's getting kind of hot in here, so...
It wasn't that big of a mess.
It was sizable, but you can comment, concern, or even question
or
our podcast. Or no hate mail. Our fragile egos cannot take it, and I will break down crying on the podcast. I swear I will. So, if you want to contact us, just go to thecomicbooknetwork@gmail.com. That's THEComicbookNetwork @gmail.com. That is 7 for 7.
7 for 7, I believe.
At least. And dare I say it, that was pretty impressive.
Darren, please don't say it.
Fine. I guess you
shouldn't be bossing around Darren.
All right. I'm tearing up a little, so if you want to continue or whatever, I'll just...
You need to have a bit more tough skin.
No, it's good, it's good. So the question is, what is your favorite B-list character?
I'm gonna have to go with Captain Cold Leonard Snart. Because he is...
That's a long title.
Well, I was giving his alias as
and
well.
his full name.
Because,
Secret identity, if you will.
Yeah. Because he's a very interesting character, you know. He's smart, and he's portrayed as a villain, but maybe not.
Right.
You know? He's more like, if it works for me, I'll do it, you know?
Right.
Type of guy. And one of my favorite lines from him is he was working with some other guys to get some
And is
passcode or
this
something.
in the comics or the TV show?
This is from the TV show.
Okay.
He was working with, you know, all the heroes of tomorrow or whatever to get a passcode for something, right? And so he gets it from this woman by pickpocketing her. He comes back and he holds it up, and the guy's like, "Oh, good, at least you didn't steal anything." Pulls out her wallet, and he's like multitasking.
Exactly.
And the way he said it, it was pretty cool.
Pretty ideal.
Pretty chill of him.
Pretty relaxed.
Pretty cold, actually.
Pretty coy.
Pretty cat.
Pretty, I'm out. I have no more. But my B-list character, and actually a friend sort of introduced me to this character, is the Hood. Not the one you normally think of, not Red Hood. Not that sort of thing. I'm talking about the Hood, created by Michael Vaughn in Marvel for... I believe his first appearance was the Max series. He's just a great character overall. He's a villain, but he has so many redeeming and understandable qualities.
Is he has the teleporting, right?
Among many other powers. His main sort of deal is his levitation of sorts and his ability to go entirely invisible, which can also seem like teleportation in some ways.
I see.
And he's immensely powerful. He's been involved in some of the most impactful events in Marvel's history, but he's still relatable, he's still humanized, and he's still a great character. And that's why I enjoy him. He's often written very well. So I think that about does it for this week's episode. We hope you guys have enjoyed it.
And that wraps up this podcast that no longer has as many Oscars as Leonardo DiCaprio.
We did have 0 before, and that kind of tied with him. Now we have 4. So we've pretty much surpassed him in that regard. We're probably the best podcast out there.
Thank you all for watching. Send in your letters, hate, anything you want.
Remember, you can listen to us on YouTube or Spreaker. And chances are you're listening to us on one of those two things right now. So try listening on the other.
If you want.
If you so choose. Thank you for supporting us. And
have a great
night.
Week.
What?
That too. Have a great week.
Good night.
Both.
Have a great week.
At the same
What
time.
did you say?
I said great.
Oh.
Dogs are great.
Good night.
Have fun.
Love you.